Happy word of the day. Have you ever seen a chipmunk? Don't say no, I know you have. Everyone in the Midwest knows the brown tail and black stripes of the Timaeus striatus, in Latin, or in Ojibwe, agongos. Agongos kind of literally means little upside downer, with the Ojibwe root meaning upside down, making the whole word more roughly translate to little upside down eater, which tracks if you've ever seen a chipmunk on a tree in the forest. Those little dudes are eating all the time. When English hit the Americas, we got 100+ years of fast-tracked language evolution. From chipmunk, chipmink, to chipmunk, this word underwent a complex and fluid evolution. The way these words grow and change, to me, is really human. So it's not easy to pinpoint where exactly chipmunk became chipmunk. The chip part, historians think, comes from that little chee-chee sound that the animals make, but the monk part is a bit harder to pinpoint. Might be because of that hood-like fur pattern on their heads, or the way they sit like little dainty woodland monks. But honestly, your guess is as good as mine. That's how these things happen, though. It's not just one person who decides, yeah, we're gonna say it this way now. An unimaginable amount of people come in contact with this word, and like any other piece of language, their unique take, like the way they say it, rubs off on the word, and that becomes its modern meaning. What's wild is the Oxford English Dictionary didn't officially recognize chipmunk until 1972, but these little dudes have been showing up in literature since the early 1800s. The first appearance, we think, was thanks to a Montreal poet who once wrote about being startled by a chipmunk's sudden chirp while raising a gun to shoot a partridge. On a bit of a side note, the Ojibwe and Chippewa people are actually very similar, just from different regions with different spelling. Canada learns Ojibwe, the US says Chippewa, but the stories and language run deeper than any labels. One of these stories actually comes from the Iroquois people and explains how the chipmunk got its name. I'm gonna read this as it's written in Iroquois tales and stories. I'll link that down below if anyone wants to read some of these, because they're pretty cool. But taking this story and spinning it to fit my video wouldn't do it any justice, because that's not how it's written. If I tried to change it, it wouldn't be the same thing. That's why these stories are so important. This is what these people thought was the truth for hundreds of years. It's their own complex way of looking at the world, and this bled into how they interacted with nature and how they saw each other. But I'll get into the story. At one time, the animals had tribes and chiefs, like men. It was when the porcupine was chief that a council was called. A great fire was lit, for it was night. When all the animals were seated around the fire, the porcupine spoke. "Friends," he said, "we have met here to settle a great question. Shall we have night all the time, or day?" At this, all the animals began to talk at once. There was great confusion. The night animals kept shouting, "Night, night, always night." Others of the animals cried, "Day, always day." Still others called for day and night. There was so much noise that it could not be decided what was best. At last the animals grew tired of calling. One by one their voices grew fainter, and the shouting ceased. Of the night animals, the bear alone was heard. He had a big voice and still kept calling, "Night, night, always night." The animals who wanted day all the time, and those who wanted day and night, also became quiet, all except the chipmunk. He chattered on, "We will have light and then night. We will have light and then night, chee-chee-chee." Then the bear too became tired. He was fat and lazy and so sleepy. He thought he would take a short nap. But all the night long, the wide-awake chipmunk kept up his song. Not for a moment did he stop to rest. Out of the dark came his voice, sure and always cheery. "We will have light and then night. We will have light and then night, chee-chee-chee." And before the animals knew it, the sun began to rise. At the first rays of light, the bear sat up, blinked, and rubbed his eyes. He saw that while he had slept, light indeed had come. He knew that he and the night animals had been beaten in the council, and that the chipmunk and the animals who'd wanted day and night had won. The bear was very angry. He struck at the chipmunk with his paw, but he was clumsy, and the chipmunk was spry. The chipmunk laughed and sprang into a hole of a hollow tree nearby. But those black stripes on the chipmunk's back show where the paw of the black bear touched him as he slipped into the tree. Ever since this council and the little chipmunk called so long and loud for light and night, we have had day and night. These stories kind of give perspective to especially this video for the name of the word, because like this word of the day video, this story is how the Iroquois and indigenous peoples of America thought the chipmunk got its name. And in the same way that words evolve, this story probably evolved too. It was definitely some other form. In other tribes, they had their own ways of explaining how this happened. So I wanted to share that with you to give a bit of perspective, because I don't have all the knowledge. I'm not a language expert. I don't know about this tribe very deeply. I'm not a member. So giving stories like this that are real, actual accounts of what these ancient people believed is important for context. You need to have a full picture, and looking at the word as it is in the context of language isn't enough. You gotta go deeper, a little farther back in history. Anyway, I'm rambling. I hope you enjoyed this word of the day. Agungos, and have a lovely rest of your day.